No, please, what are you doing? Last week, going into a consultation with a client who is also my friend, I told him that I'll look after his workflow in AutoCAD to improve it. Among all of the things that we needed to improve, we started with his drawing title block. It was funny, but he was using a couple of lines with his block. Not only that, but he was randomly scaling his block and also manually adding information to his block. Of course, all of this will generate many problems. So here is what we did to automate his workflow. Okay, so one of the first things that we're gonna do in order to automate this process, one of the first things that we did is fixing the scale of this block. So the problem right now, or the problem was with my friend, that if we go to the property palette, we can see that it has a random scale of 0.0 whatever, but this won't be helpful because if we set this to 1, which is supposed to be the correct scale, you can see that we have a huge block. And this would be a waste of time whenever we needed a new drawing scale. Right now, this drawing is at 1/4. You can see it over here at the bottom. So it's using the 1/4 scale. And so that's what we're gonna fix first, the scale of this block, so that when you use it, you quickly could adjust the scale based on your drawing scale or viewport scale. So, and for that, we're gonna use a chart. Let me show you the chart that we're gonna use for that to help us with that. Is this chart over here. So basically, this is a drawing scale chart for Autocad and Arquitecture. Civil also is right here. But we're going to focus on the architectural part, right? So in order to, again, stop you from guessing the scale of your block and always have it correctly, let me go back over here. And again, let's make sure that the properties is at 1 so we can start good. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to right click and go to the block editor to fix this random scale. So let's quickly inspect some of these text sizes or heights. And if we go here on the properties, we're gonna see that the height of this text is 1 foot, which is huge, right? It's not right. So again, for that, we're gonna need our scale chart. So we can see here that at 1 inch equals 1 inch, that's a scale of 1, of course, so a factor of 1. So the title is going to be at 1/4 inch for the text height, right? So that's what we need. So how can we convert this huge block into the correct scale? Well, we're going to use a trick for that. Okay, and the trick is that since we know that this text is 1 foot, we can find it here on the chart. So if we go down, right, we keep looking over here, 8 inches, 12 inches. Here we go, we found it. So 12 inches, of course, that's 1 foot. If we move to the left, all the way to the left, we can see that this drawing, this block, sorry, right now is at 1/4 of an inch. So we can use that factor, which is 48, to convert this block, the size of this block, to the correct one, which is 1, right? We want 1/4 to be the text height. So again, we're going to use 48 scale factor, and we're going to use 1 also. Okay, so then what we're going to do is the following. We're going to select everything to scale it, of course, to the correct scale. And we're going to use the scale command with its shortcut S and C. And then the important part here is that my friend or my client, who is also my client, had the base point for this block over here at this 0, 0, 0, because that's a nice way to place his block according to the bottom line of the title block, right? So I wanted to keep that distance. I don't want to mess up with this block. I only wanted to first fix the scale so he can quickly scale this block in any drawing with any viewport scale. So I'm going to keep that same distance. So for that, I'm going to specify the base point at 0, 0, 0, and then press enter. So what we're doing now is scaling this block based on the same base point, which is 0, 0, 0. So we're good so far. And now what we're going to do is use those factors from the chart. Remember, 48 and 1. And we're going to scale 1 over 48. So once we do that and press enter, you can see that our block was scaled dramatically. But now the beauty is that once we select this title, you can see that it is at 1/4 of an inch, which is correct, right? Based on our drawing scale chart, you can see that that's the correct size for this block. And again, to double check everything, we're gonna select this text now, the next one, and it is at 3/16 of an inch. And again, if we go and check our chart, the major headings, it is at 3/16 of an inch, which is correct, right? So now we know that this block has the correct scale. And let me show you now how easy it is to scale it based on other drawing scale or viewport scale. So at this point, let's simply save or close this block editor, and let's make sure we save the changes, right? So at this point, you can see that the block is showing weirdly in different sizes, and this is because we need to do an extra step here, which is to synchronize this block. And for that, we're going to use a command called Batman. Okay, you can simply type that command, Batman, and press enter. And then at this point, we're going to select the block over here. The reason why it's showing like this is because there are attributes inside this block. So somehow Autocad needs to refresh or synchronize these attributes again. So for that, let's select the block over here by clicking this icon. And then let's select the block like so, and then click sync. Once we do that and click OK, you can see that now our block is showing correctly. Now let me show you the beauty of this, right? Why we did what we took the time to scale, right? Why? Well, let me show you now. So most of the time when you use this drawing title block, you also use it in model space or paper space, right? Because you might have a detail at a different scale. So this right now it's in paper space. So, but let me copy it with Control C. And then if I go inside the viewport, that means I'm in model space now by double clicking on the viewport. You can see that's the viewport, and it's at 1/4 of scale of an inch. So if I paste it with Control V, you can see it right there. It's really, really tiny, right? But the beauty is that now we can go to the property palette, and based on our scale chart, we can see that at the viewport 1/4 scale, the scale factor is 48, right? So now we can go on the properties and scale that block to 48, 48, 48, 48. And you can see that our block has exactly the same size, even in model space or viewport or paper space. So that's the beauty. So now the next time you needed to use it in a different scale, let's say 3/16 or whatever, again, he can, or you, my friend, or you can simply follow the chart, and let's say you're using a 3/16 scale viewport, you can simply scale your block to 64, and you always will have the block to the same scale, which is, a standard way to do it and the correct way. So one more thing that I did to even make this faster, this process with my friend, is that if you notice on the property, you have to scale the block 3 times, which is, a waste of time. So in order to avoid that, simply go to the block editor again by right clicking on the block and picking block editor. And if we go to the properties, you can see that there is an option here that says scale uniformly, and right now it's set to no, but let's change that to yes, and let's close the block and save the changes again. So, and basically what this does is that now once you want to scale your block, you can see that you have to only do it once instead of 3 times. So again, if I'm using a 3/16 viewport scale, I know it's the scale 64, so I'll type only one time 64 and press enter, and you can see that all of the scale Y and Z will also be scaled automatically, right? So let me undo that because I have 1/4 right now. And that's one of the first things that we did to fix the scale of this block, and also, made it more easier to access it. So the next thing, the second thing that we wanted to fix on my friend's blog was the idea that he was using a couple of lines with his blog, because he likes it to, have it all the way till the end of his drawing, of course. So let's fix that, right? Let's fix that. So in order to fix that, I'm gonna again open the blog by going to the block editor with right click, and then we're gonna add a linear parameter here so he can scale quickly his block. And for that, what I did is go to the parameters tab, go to the linear parameter, and of course click to start adding it. So I started clicking over here and then going to this other side like so, and then finally over here. So at this point we have 2 grid points, but we only needed 1. So I selected my parameter, and from the property palette there is an option to change the number of grids. So I change it to 1, and as you can see, now we only have 1 grid, which is nice. So for the name of my parameter, I could also change it here from the property palette. So we could change it something like drawing title lines. So after this, what we needed to do is add an action, and this would be the stretch action. So again, from the block authoring palette, if you don't see it, I'm gonna close it so I can show you how you can see it. Is over here from the block editor on your ribbon, authoring palettes. You simply click on it, and again, let's add an action, and this would be the stretch action. So following the instructions on the command line that it says select parameter, I'll simply click this parameter and then the specify parameter point. So I'm gonna click over here like so, and then finally the corner to be stretched is gonna be all of this, and the objects to be stretched are gonna be all of this like so. So, and then I can press enter. So once we did this, it's time to close the block editor and save the changes. So now we don't need these two lines anymore, and we can simply add or scale those lines or stretch those lines, sorry, using this grip nicely and avoid generating any future problems. All right, so that's the second thing that we did to automate my friend's workflow. And of course, you could also use this to your advantage. So let's move to the third thing that we did to automate my friend's process or workflow with this specific drawing title block. All right. So the third thing was the idea that my friend was populating or adding information to his block manually, right? So, but we could automate that process using something here in Autocad that is called field. Field is basically a way to automate the input of data here in Autocad. So we have to set it, and then we don't have to remember again trying to put that information. Let me give you an example. So for instance, right now, this part over here, A1, we have two blocks. Let's remove one so we don't get confused. So okay, we have only one now. So right now, all of this information was set manually, of course, but here, this is the sheet number and sheet name and all of that. So if you can see, always we need to set up the name of the layout. You can see right now is EX1 over here. Let me see if you can see it or not. I'm gonna hide myself for a bit so you can see better. So the layout tab over here is EX1, that's the name, but the block, it says A1.0, which is not right. So that's one of the issues when you have to enter your information manually, right? You always need to remember what things to update and change. So that's why we're gonna use a field to automate this process and never have this issue again of having a different layout tab names with your block names. So in order to do that, we're gonna again open this block by right-clicking on it and going to the block editor. So once we do that, let's go here and select this text, and let's double click on it. It's an attribute definition, of course. And where it says default over here, we're gonna right click, and there is an option that says insert field. Again, this is a smart way to put data or information on blocks. So data that can automatically change depending on the properties of this drawing. So let's click insert field. And what we need for this is the layout tab name over here, right? So for that, let's expand under field categories and let's go to all. Once we do that, let's go and look for a category called system variable, which is over here, system variable. And then we're gonna go under system variables and look for a variable called ctab. Okay, so you can type the letter also, C, and let's find that. Let's scroll down, C date, C layer. Let's keep looking, our ctab, and it's right here. ctab, and you can see on the side right now it says model, and that's correct because if you see it, we are on model space. So let's make sure uppercase is selected and click OK. So once we do that, we can see that this model text is showing in a gray color. That means there is a field expression over here on this text. So let's click OK and simply close and save the changes for this block. So if you see, it looks like nothing really happens, but in order to show those changes, let's open the block palette using the insert option or insert command. And you can see that our block is right here, drawing title. So let's insert that by clicking on it. And I'm going to insert it over here. Click for the drawing title. I'm going to simply use the same name. For the scale, the same scale. For the drawing number, I'm going to simply say 1. And then press enter to accept that. And as you can see, we have a field expression right here. And you can see that we can remove this block, of course, right now. And you can see that the field is showing, again, highlighted in gray. That means there is a field expression right there. And the beauty of this is that whenever we copy this right now, we're using the Control C. And let's say I want to go to another drawing like this over here, this other elevation. And if I copy it with Control V, you can see that right now it says EX1, right? But this drawing or layout tab is EX2. But look what happened when I click that. You can see that it automatically updates to match the same name of the current layout tab, which is great, right? This means we won't have any issues in the future if we forget to, for some reason, update this information. All right, so I'm gonna undo that and go back to our drawing. So of course, in this same drawing, if I update this to something like A1 and press enter, you can simply use the regenerate command or using the shortcut REA to regen all and press enter, and you can see that it automatically updates to show the correct layout name. Great, right? So this is the third thing that we did to automate my friend's work using this drawing title block. And let's go and move to the fourth thing that we did to help my friend to, work faster and smarter. And the fourth thing that we did is automate the insertion of the name for his drawings. So right now you can see that there is a proposed floor plan over here. Now the problem with this is again, if I copy this with Control C and go to another drawing and paste it, this is not a proposed floor plan, of course. So I'll have to manually go in here and update to this existing elevation and so on, right? So we don't want that. We want to automate this process. So let's undo that. And in order to do that, let's go again and open the block editor for this block, right? Right click on it, pick block editor, and then what we're gonna do here is double click on this title, and under default, we again gonna right click and insert another field. So once we do that, for this field, what we need is go over here under field category and find the file name. So let's find it. File name is right here. So once we do that, let's go under file name and make sure that uppercase is selected, and also that display file extension is unchecked. So those are some important steps that we need to do in order for this to work. And let's click OK. So once we do that, again, we can see that the text is being highlighted in gray. That means there is a field expression over here, and let's simply click OK, close the block editor, and save the changes. So once we do that, again, it looks like nothing really happened, but it is because we need to insert our block from the block palette again. So I'm gonna do it really quick. Click over here, press enter to accept that, press enter to accept that, and then press enter to accept that. So the beauty of having a field with the file name is that whenever I use this block using the Control C and go to another drawing using and paste it using the Control V, you can see that if I click on it, it will automatically be updated. Let me go to the chat and do this, and let me go to the chat because we have a comment, and it is Marco Flores. Hi Marco, thank you for being here today. Good morning also to you. So let's keep moving. Thank you for being here today, Marco, and let's keep moving. So let's explain the fifth thing that we did to this drawing block in order to automate some of this process. So let me first remove this because we don't need it anymore. And the fifth thing that we did is to add a viewport scale field. So you can see right now that the problem that can cause this block is whenever I change the scale of my viewport by double clicking inside the viewport to change the scale over here. Right now it's locked, so let's click to unlock it. And let's say I change the scale to something like 316. And then of course I'm gonna get out, and you can see that your block, it's still showing at 1/4. So we need to update this information. So that's an issue because sometimes we might forget this. So let's undo that using Control Z. And in order to set this up so it changes according to the viewport scale automatically, let's add another field. But before that, we have a comment on the chat, Xiomara Araujo. Hi, Xiomara. Thank you for being here today. That's great. So let's again right click on the block and pick block editor. So once we do that, let's go over here. Oops, no, let me undo that because that's not what we're gonna do. In order to add a field to match the correct viewport scale, let's double click over here. And right now it says scale 1/4. Let's select that scale. And let's right click and insert a field. So once we do that, we have to look for the option that says object. So let's click over here under all and pick objects. Once we do that, there's an option over here that says object. Let's select that and click to select an object like so. So of course the object that we need to select is the viewport. So I'm gonna select the viewport that is right here. You can see it, click, and then make sure viewport is now selected. And what we need to do is go to custom scale, which is right here, custom scale, and make sure that use scale name is selected. You can see a preview over here and click OK. So again, you can see that this is showing highlighted. That means we added a field expression, and let's click OK. And you can see that a field was added. So at this point, whenever we want to change our viewport scale by double clicking inside, and let's change it to something like 316 scale. And let's get out by double clicking outside the viewport. You can see that nothing really happens, but you don't need to worry about it, because whenever you print, create a PDF, or even do a preview, you can see that it will automatically update for you to the correct scale. Okay, so that's the fifth thing that we did to automate my friend's workflow. And one quick tip that I want to give you is that you can change the display of your fields if you don't want them to show like this, using the field display. And you can set it to something like 0, and then you will see that all of your fields will update and won't show in your blog like so. So again, that's a personal preference. Again, it is the system variable field display. If you set it to 1 or 0, you will have it like so. All right, so I hope these techniques on how you can automate your workflow are beneficial also for you. So let's go back now to the comments to see if we have some questions.